I had an extra espresso before I started recording this because I wanted to be a little bit more spicy, a little bit more fired up. But I apologize if that translates into me just talking faster. So if you need to, if you usually listen on 1.5 speed and you need to slow it down, please feel free to do so. The fitness industry has a lot of wonderful things. I love it. I love fitness not more than anything. There's plenty of things I love more than fitness, real life things. But as far as an industry goes in a profession, I love it very, very, very much. But it has a lot of problems. Probably not unlike any other industry. They're unique because one, I see them, but two, because it's an industry where it's trying to help people. And here's the thing: human behavior is very much driven and dictated by the incentives. In fitness, it is a gigantic industry in that it applies to nearly everybody as a somewhat of a comparison, if you will, to make random things like I'm just looking for stuff around my desk. Not everyone is going to need a corporate lawyer, right? Not everyone is going to buy wired headphones. Not everyone is going to buy this kind of shirt. So everyone has a body and everyone has health and fitness as part of your life, whether you're like engaged in it or not. Like everyone is a potential customer or a client or user of the service or product or industry or whatever you want to call it. But per person, there's not much money to be made, which leads to people trying to make money, which is fair and justified, obviously. But in order to make money, in order to stand out, in order to make a lot of money, you need to start doing things that are different, that attract attention. And in the current world that we live in of algorithms and social media and internet, that all gets amplified because the louder you can be, the more eyeballs you can get, the more traffic and business you can drive, and the more money you can make. And so things are dictated by the incentive. And when the incentive is to make money, the behaviors start to change. And this is where we see ridiculous takes, things that are just flat out wrong, people just straight up lying. And this is, again, fitness is not the only industry that this happens in. This happens everywhere. It's just a little bit more prevalent, I think, in fitness because something that I've also talked about before is to some degree, like everything kind of works. So it's not blatant lying. It's not necessarily illegal to do that. And the behaviors are just rewarded very, very often. So with all that in mind, I'm going to talk about a bunch of things that have kind of come up over the last year or that have just existed over the last many years and things that we need to just leave behind once and for all in 2025 as we head into 2026. Now, this first one is very much top of mind. I was scrolling yesterday, so I'm recording this on a Saturday. I was just like scrolling on my phone on Friday. I saw this video of Taylor Swift and her trainer, and they were, it was a clip of, I guess they did a documentary series or show of some sort for the tour or whatever that she did. I have nothing against Taylor Swift. I'm just not up to date on my celebrity stuff. In this clip, it shows them doing banded pull-ups with 2 feet in the band and like half range of motion would be a generous way to put it. Not good form would be a generous way to put it. And I just made a post saying, like, imagine, like, I don't know how you end up in this situation. Like, how do you end up being Taylor Swift's coach? And, like, this is what you're doing with your clients. And this is, like, it's being filmed. If you know you're being filmed, you're going to kind of bring your A game. And if this is your A game, like, that's kind of just odd. It's just odd. Anyways, this post I've been getting ripped on Threads, which is not surprising because Threads is the worst platform possible. Like, I posted the same thing on X and the same thing on Instagram, and everyone's like, yeah, I'm like, checks out, like, you're right. And Threads is just like thousands. There's like last I checked was like over 3 million views on this silly video. Anyways, the first thing to leave behind is the band assisted pull-ups. Now, band assisted pull-ups do have their place, so I'll caveat myself here. The problem with band assisted pull-ups is that they're just a really inefficient way to being able to do unassisted pull-ups because the band helps you at the bottom of the pull-up. the most. Like the band stretches, right? It has the most tension at the fully stretched position, which is you at the bottom, and then it flings you up more and helps you less and less as you go up. Now the bottom of the pull-up is it's good. It's helpful to complete reps of pull-ups because it makes it really easy. Helps you most at the bottom, which is the hardest part. But the problem is that because it helps you most of the hardest part, you never train that part, and therefore you never get out of being able to use a band. So not never, it can happen. It's just a very inefficient, very slow, not ideal way to be doing this. So a better way to do it is to use the assisted chin-up machine, right? Which the difference between that and a band-assisted pull-up is that the band is varying resistance. The machine is a constant amount of resistance throughout the range of motion. So that alone makes it more beneficial. But even before that, first work on your dead hang. So just hang from a full range of motion and just work on your grip strength. Then it's just like scap pull-ups, which if you're watching the video, I'll try and show it. I'm not going to turn around, but like you're full hang and you're just from here, you're just driving your scapulas down. So you're not even bending your elbows at all. You're just driving your scapulas down and trying to get that, again, training that bottom part of the pull-up. And then you're going to work on the eccentric or the negative or the lowering portion, which is you jump up and you just slowly lower yourself down. While you're doing this, you're also going to just work on your technique and the full range of motion via a lat pull-down machine. One thing super common, like that's a bad form kind of thing with pull-ups, is rounding. And again, I'm showing this on the video if you want to find the timestamp of this, like around 8 minutes or 7 minutes or so. Rounding your shoulders forward and caving in your chest and curving over your shoulders and kind of leaning up to the bar with your chin. Rather than when you pull down, you actually try and get your collarbones up to the bar rather than thinking about getting your chin over the bar. And what that does is it drives your elbows down, squeezes your lats more. And I apologize if this sounds bad. This is the terrible medium to be doing this. But you're trying to get your collarbone up, so you're squeezing your back more. Your chest is open, your back is closed, so to speak, but it's more squeezed. So you're actually using the big, strong muscles of your back to pull yourself up rather than just relying on your biceps and your hands and your forearms to curl yourself over. So you're working on that technique with the lat pull-down machine and then with the eccentrics on an actual pull-up bar. Then you start to use the assisted pull-up machine, or this is where you could use the bands just to get the motion, the feeling of it. But then you use those less and less and less, and then you'll be able to do pull-ups. Like pretty simple. That might take a few months or weeks, but that's more or less the process. The other thing here is the way that you use the band. If you're going to use the band, please do not put both of your feet in the band. If you're going to put your feet in the band, put just one foot in the band, but I would actually rather go with knees in the band and still one knee in the band, not both knees. The reason being, and this is not like a high risk thing, but it's a greater than zero risk thing for zero benefit. And I've seen it happen multiple times, not that many times, but enough times, and more than one is too many times, where your feet are in the band and so they're stuck in the band. Your body swings forward when you're like first starting out to do pull-ups and stuff like that, you're not super strong, and fair enough. And so your body swings more and sways back and forth. So when your body sways forward, the band pushes forward, and you try, and your natural reflex is to like use your feet, especially because you feel your feet on something. So you kick the band forward, your feet shoot forward. Now your body is like leaning back horizontal. You're holding onto the bar, but your grip strength isn't that strong, again, because you're, just starting. And even if your grip strength was strong, your body's rocking. So your hand could just slip, and then you're horizontal, feet stuck in the band out in front of you, and you fall slam on your tailbone from like a pretty high up height. Not pretty. All of that is easily mitigated by just having one foot in the band. And therefore, if you do swing and if you do fall, like your one foot is free. So you'll just land on that foot. And it's the same amount of resistance. Like way safer and zero upside to doing the other way. So leave those things behind. We got to make this better, and everyone can do pull-ups. That would be great if everyone could do pull-ups and we get more people doing pull-ups in 2026. I spent way too long on that. Wow, I got to go faster. Triceps kickbacks, also another pretty terrible exercise, and there's almost certainly a better exercise you could do. The problem is that with tricep kickbacks, unless you are like super strong already and really good at holding your position up. Again, I'll try and show in the video. This is not going to work out that good. But if you're holding your arm up like this and you're able to actually hold it at like a 90-degree angle, then you get some triceps. The problem is that unless you're supported or really strong in your rear delts to hold your arm like this, you end up holding your arm like more down. And so like gravity is just like letting your arm go back, and then you're actually doing more of a bicep curl on the way up rather than a tricep anything on the way back. So it's just not really accomplishing the goal, although it might feel like it. But you would you would accomplish the same goal by just like squeezing your tricep. And the problem is because it's a dumbbell, so it's free motion because gravity only works down, it doesn't go horizontally. The way to fix this is, one, do a different exercise. So do just a dumbbell skull crusher or like an overhead extension. Those would be two perfectly good alternatives. And if you have a cable, you can do a triceps kickback on the cable, and the cable fixes these issues because the cable, changes, quote unquote, the direction of gravity where it follows the cable rather than just up and down. So you can just fix it like that if you want, if you really want to do that bent over tricep kickback. But if you have a cable, do an overhead extension, do a push down, do a katana extension, which is just a single arm overhead behind the head extension. Plenty of better tricep exercises than a triceps kickback with a dumbbell, and we can leave that one behind. I didn't number these, so I'm just going to let them rip. Natural testosterone boosters, leave that behind. Completely, I don't want to say completely useless, but like 98% useless and just a waste of money. If your testosterone is really low / it's not low and you just want to boost it, and you're already doing all of the lifestyle things, being sleeping well, eating well, training well and training often, getting sunlight, getting good nutrients, managing your stress, not drinking alcohol, not smoking cigarettes or marijuana or other drugs, that probably covers it. Training consistently, drinking enough water, but doing all the basic stuff. If you're doing all those things and you really just want to bump your testosterone up, like just use TRT if it's safe, and check with your doctor and all that stuff. But just do that. Like, the judgment on that is over, and we're going to talk about that again a little bit later. Just use that, assuming it's safe. And because the natural test boosters are just a waste of money and not actually helping you. So you're just fooling yourself by taking that, and you're just wasting your money on that. But again, going back to the whole like sales of things and just behaviors following incentives. If you sell something that's like, hey, this is a natural testosterone booster, it's not steroids, you can get it at your local supplements shop, it's only $47.99 a month, and it's going to boost your testosterone, boost your libido by this percentage from this study, and blah, blah, blah. No one's reading the studies. I promise you it didn't do that. If it was that good and that downside free, which they are downside free because they basically do nothing, why wouldn't everyone just use that? Every single person would just use it. So when you're thinking, is this thing too good to be true? Probably yes, because if it was true, everybody would do it. BCAAs, also another supplement that can just be left behind. To be fair, they're not even that expensive. And again, like, no real downsides to taking them. They're just like not that useful either. If you just like the taste of it and it's just like part of your ritual, and fine, be my guest if you don't care about spending the money on it. Because again, they're not that expensive. They are a relatively cheap supplement. They're just not really doing anything for you. So, you can just leave those behind. And one less powder, one less thing to remember, one less thing to store in your supplement cabinet, and save yourself that. Fear-mongering food groups. This is potentially the ultimate behavior driven by incentives, because if you tell people something that they think is already kind of true, that validates a thought that they may have that seems easy to them and doable, and frankly does produce some short-term results, that is a money printing machine. So if you believe already that like vegetables are bad, or you just don't like eating vegetables and you're looking for an easy way to lose weight, and I tell you that all vegetables are bad and they're it's the source of all bad things in the world and blah blah blah, and all you have to do is eat meat, and you do that and you cut all the vegetables out, but by doing that you also cut out all the junk, and you lose weight, it's like, man, vegetables weren't the problem. And that's the same to be said in any direction, whether it's vegan, carnivore, keto, anything. Like, we need to stop with the fear mongering on the food groups. Do all those things have a place in certain very small percentage niches of the populations? Absolutely, like everything. But for widespread things, it's just completely useless, and we need to get past this and and stop with this. It just needs to stop being purported. Oh, I'll skip that one. Okay. Before and after photos. You know what? I'm not gonna skip that one. What I skipped is this. The reason that these things also get, like, the reason that I'm saying this, because these are things that are saying, like, you listening to this, like, you're not doing this, like, you're not fear mongering about food groups, but you're falling for these, not necessarily falling for these things, but you're hearing these things. When you interact, this is again behaviors and outcomes and incentives. When you interact with a post, whether it's positive or negative, the algorithm clocks that as an interaction, as an engagement. That pushes the post to more and more people. So the way to, like, stop these things, because I'm pretty sure if you're listening to this, you don't believe in these things. Some of the exercise things, maybe for the beginning, some of the supplement stuff. But the way to combat this is to like not combat it, as in just completely ignore it. When you see these things, don't watch, don't interact, don't hit like, don't send it to your friend and say, ha, look how stupid this is. Like, the algorithm clocks that as an interaction. And so if you keep doing those things, then it keeps getting pushed, and the incentive is still there because it's still getting more views, more likes, more follows, more business. And so you continue to feed the incentive for that behavior, and the behavior would stop very quickly because these things are not true. This is the caveat here to all of this. Because all of these things are not true, the behavior would stop when the incentive dries up, and the incentive is the money. So when the money stops and the views stop, the behavior will stop because it's not true. The same cannot be said about something that is true. Like, someone who is, let's use what's a good fitness example here? If I said like a calorie deficit is the way to lose weight, okay, that is objectively and scientifically true. It's really hard to make money off saying that because it's like real boring. But let's say that people stopped watching those posts, which they already don't watch it. So this is actually a really good example of it. Those posts, like, of objective, kind of boring, so to speak, truths, get way less views, way less incentives. Why do people keep posting those things? Oh, people like myself, why do we keep posting these things that are boring but true and effective? And it's because they're true. So even though the incentive via money is not there for posting it, the truth overrides that. And so the incentive is giving good, true information out there to the public in hopes that one day it helps someone, which is a way more indirect incentive. When the incentive is only money, if I say this lie to sell this thing, if the money stops coming, then I don't actually believe in that because it's not true. And so the conviction to continue saying it, even when the money dries up, is not there, and it will go away. That's the way to think about all these things. That really just kind of popped in my head, and I just had to get that off my chest before we keep going. Before and after pics. I hate to break it to you. There's obviously lots of good trainers out there and lots of people doing very good, honest work, but there are a lot of before and after pics that are just fake. Like, they either just stole them from someone else, and that's been happening since before AI and photo editing was really easy. But you can just type in on whatever AI photo app thing you want, and, like, hey, give me a transformation, before and after, and describe who you want to, a man 35 who lost 12 pounds, whatever it is. It'll spit it up for you in like a few seconds, and within a couple prompts, you can make it look indistinguishable from the truth. You can make it look very real. So it's the main reason why I personally don't use them, barely ever, and it's because, like, I don't believe in any of them. And maybe this is kind of like, when you're on the inside on business, you know how the soup is made, and so you don't, or whatever the saying is, so you don't like it. You know how the sausage is made. That's the quote. When you know how the sausage is made, you realize you shouldn't eat it. Um, but it's the same thing with these before and after pictures. Like, you know that people are lying, and you know that people are just like fabricating the whole thing. And so when I see a testimonial, and this goes across industries, like when I see testimonials for anything, a review, it's like it's really easy to just fake all of these things. And so you can't really trust them. The way you can trust it is if it's someone you actually know in real life who's going out of their way to say, hey, so and so is great at what they did. They did XYZ for me. This was awesome. But if it's just the person saying, hey, look at, Jimmy in Utah said this, and, he said I'm amazing and lost all this weight and blah, blah, maybe it's true, but like, it's high probability that it's not. Um, and it's only going to be the highlights anyways. It's not going to be the average client's results. It's going to be maybe the top 1% or 10% of client results. So you just got to keep that in mind and just like be wary of those things. And again, this isn't just for fitness. This is like across everything. Like, don't just believe the the reviews and the before and afters and the testimonials, even the written ones. Like, not that hard to just fake all this stuff, unfortunately. Next thing here, posting Apple Watch calories burned, and not just Apple Watch, like your Whoop strap, your and whatever other activity tracker. The calories burned is at best useless, and at worst inaccurate, and making you make decisions based on incorrect information. Like, if you want to just look at it to see, like, that's fine, but you can't, like, it's not true, and it also doesn't matter because it shouldn't be factored into any of like your equations for calories or thinking about how you're losing weight or anything like that. It's actually just irrelevant. And even if it was relevant, the information is incorrect. So like, you didn't burn 750 calories in your 45-minute boot camp class. Like, it's just, you don't burn that many calories. Um, so, and it's unfortunate. It would be great if it was like real, and it would be great if it mattered, but it's not real and it doesn't matter. So, fine if you want to post it and do your thing, I guess. But like, you have to know that it's just not real, not doing anything for you, and you definitely should not be making any adjustments to your training or to your nutrition or inferences on anything that matters based on that number on your watch. Unfortunately. Let me get a sip of water because this next one is a big one. I feel like I'm doing a decent job of not talking too fast. But you be the judge of that. This one can be labeled as a overall statement of like, nah, you know what? I don't even want to use that phrase. The whole concept of saying that people are, at least they're in the gym, at least they're exercising, it's better than nothing. We need to get past this. Yes, that is true, that like doing something, even if it's wrong, even if it's only 5 minutes of exercise, even if it's bad form, even if it's whatever, is it true that that is better than doing nothing? Yes, absolutely. But we need to get past this. One, we need to demand better of ourselves and of our friends and family and the people around us. If we all want to be healthier, like doing 3 minutes of exercise, while that might be a nice start, that is not enough to drive change. Doing things with bad form, incorrect form, poor exercise technique, all of this stuff, if you never want to get better at anything ever again, then just stop at, oh, well, I did it, so that's good. If you want to improve at things, you can be like, hey, it's great that you're in there, but here's how I would do it. That would be better, more efficient, get you better results with less pain and less chance of injury. These two things can both exist at the same time, and I don't like. I'm not sure why that's so difficult. So this this really all comes down to just being too nice. Another thing that I've said on here often is like, being nice is like not always good, but being good is good. Sometimes you need to tell the truth and people are not going to like it, and it's not going to be nice. That doesn't mean that you go out of your way to be rude and to be mean, and certainly don't belittle anyone, but telling the truth is important, and this is certainly true in the context of exercise. Yes, it's nice that you're in the gym and you're exercising and you're doing your little circuit, and you've been using the 5-pound weights and been using the 5-pound weights for 17 weeks in a row. That's nice. I'm happy you're here rather than sitting on the couch or, drinking your face off or whatever other bad things you could be doing. But exercise is a normal part of human function, and celebrating the bare minimum is something that I think we need to get past as a society. It shouldn't be abnormal to exercise. It shouldn't be abnormal to be in the gym working hard and eating healthy food and like, oh, you chose the salad instead of the fries? Like, wow, good for you. That's amazing. It's like, come on. Like let's just do a little bit better. Like I understand that there's you graduate up this, and so taken out of context, this will sound real bad. The way I see this also is online. There's two different camps of fitness information, and they all get put into the same place, which is the internet, but they're two separate things, and they interfere and or combat each other. And it's this exact thing that I'm talking about. Is like celebrating the person who has never ever been to the gym, has been terrified of going to the gym, has been injured, has been addicted to drugs or alcohol, has been through a really hard time in their life, has been, just whatever, a bunch of negative stuff. Celebrating that person's first time in the gym, to go in the gym and like walk on the treadmill for 8 minutes, that is amazing. But that is a separate thing from the person who's like been in the gym for weeks or months and is trying hard to achieve a goal and is spending a lot of time and effort. And for the 17th week in a row, they're still doing tricep kickbacks and weird form banded pull-ups and unsure why they're not getting better. Like that person needs advice about like, hey, try this thing with your technique. Try this different approach to your workout program. Try this different whatever. And then that is not the same thing as the person who just got in there for 8 minutes on the treadmill. It's like, hey, I do not care as long as you don't hurt yourself. Please come back tomorrow. That would be awesome to see you here tomorrow. I don't care what you do. Just come back here tomorrow. Do 8 minutes and 1 second on the treadmill. That is amazing. These are two different camps, two different pieces of advice. And the same thing can be true even for yourself. If you want something to change, you want goals, you're trying to achieve something, it's really easy to also fall into this like positivity, being too nice to yourself trap where it's like, yeah, I made it to the gym this week. It's like, yep, you did. But at some point, if we want to make progress and we want to hit those goals that you say that you want, it has to be more than, I did more than nothing this week. I had only 7 cookies. I could have had 10 cookies. Like at some point, you've got to demand better of yourself if you want more. And that's the thing that I'm trying to get at here is like, be nice when you can, but be good all of the time. And tell the truth and be honest with yourself and be honest with others. This is going to help us and help you more with yourself. Mostly this is a thing about you to yourself, not you to other people. You shouldn't be going around just giving unsolicited advice, and that goes for me and all other trainers as well. But when you're talking to yourself, that self-talk, it's really easy to like justify to yourself, hey, I did okay. I went to the gym. I went for a 3-minute walk. Yeah, it is nice. But don't you want more than that? We've just got to get past the being nice and focus more on being good. You can be both. Sometimes not. But being nice in favor of being good is just not going to lead anywhere. It's eventually going to come crashing down, unfortunately. That was a good one. I'm happy that I said that. I don't know if that'll be taken the wrong way, and I don't know if that all made sense, but that I needed to get that off my chest. Intermittent fasting. A useful tool, one that I talk about intermittently. See what I did there? Intermittently here on the podcast. Useful tool, not for sure. Not a good long-term strategy for the vast majority of people, and it's only a good long-term strategy for a very, very small percentage of people. But people rely on it far too much. I've talked to many, many people who, yeah, I've been, yo-yoed my weight, and it's more of a men thing. Men tend to gravitate towards intermittent fasting more than women for some reason. I'm not quite sure. And it's like, yeah, I've lost, I lost 20 pounds. I did intermittent fasting. Great. Okay. And then what happened after that 20 pounds was lost? You know, kind of stopped and started eating breakfast again and this and that, and then gained the weight back. Okay. Of course. The problem with intermittent fasting is one of the same problems with all named diets that are restrictive in some way, especially going back to our demonizing food groups thing, is that they don't teach you how to live your life. They're good for the diet, but they're not that good for the diet after the diet, which is where you're going to spend the vast majority of your time. You might diet for 8 weeks or even 6 months, and then you have the rest of your life after that to try and maintain that. And unless you plan to intermittent fast or eat keto or eat, vegan or whatever for the rest of your life, which you don't plan on doing that, it's going to come crashing down because you've not learned any actual strategies or ways to eat that are going to be conducive to living a normal, healthy life. So that's the big problem with intermittent fasting. It just solves a problem that's not really there. And it leads to worse performance outcomes, harder to get enough protein in. It is easy to actually just like be so hungry that you end up binging and going crazy. And so you're in the eating window, but like you're still overeating calories and therefore not losing weight, because at the end of the day, it's the calories that matter, not the eating window. So yeah, this is just one that I've seen come up like more and more this year, and people like I've had many clients this year who were intermittent fasters, and I was like, hey, okay, that's fine. Let's try just like having a little bit of protein for breakfast. Maybe it's just a protein shake. It's real easy. It just sets their day up better, and like I would say 90% of the time, it ends up having better outcomes. So let's try and leave the intermittent fasting in the past. It is a good tool to be used intermittently, but not a good tool to be used all of the time. Science-based lifting. My goodness, must have been the year where it really exploded. I've seen more people doing weird exercises, cuff this, using 7 different pieces of equipment just to do a tricep push down. Like, dude, I promise you don't need all that. Also, all the people doing this are not that big. Not that I'm some big giant monster, the epitome of bodybuilding or anything like that. I don't claim to be, but it's gone too far. It's gone too far. We need to bring back some bro lifting. We need to bring back some old school exercises. We need to bring in throwing some weight around. It's fun, within reason. I know I went on that whole rant about pull-ups and like form and stuff. Like, you can throw weight around and have like cheat reps at the end of a set type of thing without having all of your reps be shitty form. Like, there's a line there between you just have bad form and at the end of a set you're using a little bit of momentum and like just hucking it a little bit. Those are two different things. And the latter, where it's like, okay, I've got good form and strict on my rows, on my whatever it is, and at the end I'm gonna throw my body into it. That's okay. Purely science-based, all this stuff, it just negates some of the fun of training, frankly. It doesn't, in theory, it does account for the intensity, but it doesn't translate to that in practice. Like, the most science-based thing is you got to lift hard, lift heavy with a lot of intensity. It just doesn't translate to that in practice, and that's why like there's a lot of really small people who are not making progress following all this science-based stuff. And even just calling it science-based is like such an elitist thing. Like, what is science other than testing a hypothesis, and a hypothesis of, if I lift these heavy weights the way that they used to in the 70s and 80s and whatever, I will get big. That has worked and produced results for many, many years. And that is literally science. So just because there's like no math involved, that doesn't make it not science. It's just a real, like, again, it goes to the incentives. It sounds better. It sounds like that should be better. Oh, this is an evidence-based, science-based workout. Like, what does that actually mean other than just a label? Like, it actually means nothing. It's just a way to drive attention. Once you see past that, you start to see past a lot of stuff. And you're like, oh yeah, this is actually nothing. It's just a new thing repackaged, or it's an old thing rather repackaged in a new way for someone to make some money off this. So science-based lifting has got to go. We got to stop this. We got to get back to just like some old school grit and grind, and some hard training and some fun gym environments. Couple more. I'm almost done here. The blaming hormones for everything. Calorie deficits don't work for me, but my hormones, you don't understand, but my hormones this, I got to fix my hormones. Like, how do you think you fix your hormones? There are two ways. One, you do all of the healthy shit. You eat in a calorie deficit, you exercise regularly, you go outside, you walk and be generally active, you eat healthy foods, lots of protein, lots of fruits and vegetables, lots of nutrients, get your carbs in, you sleep well. That is how you fix your hormones. Or if you have an actual medical condition, you exogenously take those hormones via the direction of a doctor. And so, like, cutting your carbs out doesn't fix your hormones. There isn't a diet that just like magically fixes your hormones or balances your hormones. And unless you've had your blood tested multiple times, and any other relevant medical tests to confirm that your hormones are unbalanced or low or not functioning, you don't even know that that's true. It's just a cop out because you don't want to take their personal responsibility that it is your actions that are leading to the lack of results. Your actions or your inactions. We got to get past this. We got to get over this. Again, this is where the being good but not necessarily being nice comes into play. It's really nice to say, oh, it's not you, it's your hormones, it's the plastics in the water, and it's the toxins in the air, and it's the stress of your job, and it's this and it's the stage of life, and yeah, maybe, but also maybe you're not training, you're not eating properly, you're not sleeping properly, you're not doing basic things to even try to combat that. And so you need to take a good hard look in the mirror if you are one of these people blaming your hormones and be like, hey, maybe my hormones are messed up, but also the way to fix it is I just got to do the right stuff anyways. And then if that stuff doesn't work, then you inject them in your butt. Like that's how it goes. This is the way. So there are solutions to this. So even if it was your hormones, like, we have a solution, and stop complaining about it and just fix it. It doesn't negate the fact that a calorie deficit exists. It maybe changes the equation a little bit. But you maybe just have to either eat more or eat less, depending on what hormones you think are messed up. Science is still science. It just changes the equation. So yeah, your hormones are maybe the problem, probably not, but the solution is the same. One thing that I was taught in school, in my undergrad and in chiro school, was like, when you do a medical test and via like imaging, an MRI or a blood test or various other medical tests, there's preventative reasons to do that. But when you think that there's a problem, sometimes using the test is actually, it's not necessarily harmful, but it's kind of useless because it might not change the treatment outcome. A good example of this was like, I broke my ribs once, and I never really got an X-ray, so I actually don't know like 1,000% confirmed that I broke my ribs. But based on like just assessment, like all of the clues pointed to the fact that my ribs were broken. And I asked the person who was caring for me at the time, I said, should I go get an X-ray just to confirm this? And they're like, man, not really. Like, it's not going to change anything. Like, it's not like the ribs, they weren't like, sticking into my lungs. It wasn't like that bad. It was just cracked. But it's not like you can cast your ribs. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. And so the treatment protocol for the pain that I was experiencing, whether or not the ribs were actually cracked, was going to be the same. And so therefore I was like, oh yeah, checks out. No need to go get the X-ray if it's not going to change anything. Now, if things got worse or something was a different situation with that, or it didn't get better, of course, then that warrants going to see what else is going on. But if I went to get an X-ray at that time and it said, yep, ribs are cracked. Okay, well, what do I do? Well, you do X, Y, Z, same things that you were doing anyways, right? So it doesn't change the outcome. If you go and get a hormone test or a blood test and it says, oh yeah, your thyroid is a little low, your testosterone is a little low, Okay, well, what are you doing? Oh, you're not training? Oh, you're not eating well? You're not eating enough protein, not getting enough vegetables, not getting enough sleep, drinking too much, smoking too much, not sleeping well, not managing your stress? Well, start with all of those things, and then, come back in 8 weeks and let's test again and see what your testosterone is. And you're already not doing those things, which you should be. And so the test showing that your testosterone is low is like not doing anything for you. It's not changing the next course of action. And that's the point that I'm trying to get at here. Your hormones might be messed up. They might not be. Most people are not even testing these things, so they don't actually know. It's just a cop out for trying to blame something other than their own actions and behaviors. So look in the mirror, be good to yourself, be nice to yourself if it aligns, but mostly be good to yourself and just admit that you got to put some work in. This goes back to rewarding the algorithm, the one easy trick thing. I mean, when you see these things, just scroll past, ignore it. I understand the temptation because I fall into it too sometimes. It's like, oh, what if, what if there's that one supplement, they found this new thing, there's a new exercise to 10x my muscle growth, there's a new, what if? I know. It's just not true. So if we want to stop these things from happening, we have to stop rewarding the behavior. That's really what it comes down to. The last thing, fake natties. But also, we got to stop with the steroid normalization. Like there's a balance here. But fake natties, like so many people are using steroids and performance-enhancing drugs and peptides and all types of different things. And unless you're a professional athlete in a sanctioned sport, I personally don't care at all, as long as you're being safe. But just be open about it. Like I think the judgment is over now, where I don't think anyone cares if you're using testosterone, if you're using various other anabolic steroids, if you're taking Ozempic, if you're using BPC 157 and you're using the various other peptides that are all out there, which they're kind of getting cracked down on for 2026. It's a separate story. Nobody cares. So just be honest with it. And the reason that people are not honest with it, again, incentives. If people knew that their program seems good, but I got to use steroids to get the results that they get, then they get less sales. That's why people lie about these things. And it's unfortunate, but it's true. But I think we got to just be honest with it. And if you want to go down that route as like a regular person, I'd advise against it, but like it's a conversation to have. It's right and wrong things for everyone, and it depends on your risk tolerance and what you're willing to do and willing not to do, and you got to be open about it. The other side is steroid normalization. Like it's gone. So many people are using it now and promoting it. The promotion of it is really the problem, not the openness about it. Openness should lead to more education in these things, but it shouldn't be normal to just like be using steroids after lifting for 2 years. Like, if you've been lifting for a long time and you want to get some really crazy results and all that stuff, like, yeah, and do whatever you want as long as you're not hurting anyone. I don't care. But if you're just a regular person, like there's really no need to be using anything. And the normalization has to stop, but lying and being a fake natty and selling a lie of like, hey, use my things and get my results, it's got to stop, and we got to stop believing it. If things seem too good to be true, they probably are. The filter to use for all of these things is, if this was true and it was so easy and it was so effective, why doesn't everyone else do this? Either this person is the smartest, best, most intelligent person in the world at this subject, or they are lying or wrong. Those are the options. Chances are they are not the smartest person in the world, and they're not better than they didn't discover something new that no one else has thought of before. So keep that in mind as you go through things. This was fun. I enjoy this. I enjoy getting a little excited and getting on the mic and like, hey, it's my show, so I can do that thing. This will be the last episode for the year. Next episode is episode 250. I'll take next week off and I'll put it out the week after. I've got potentially a very big announcement to make in episode 250 that I've been sitting on and saving for a while. So please stay tuned for that. 2025 has been an amazing year. 2026 is going to be even better. Can't wait. Thanks for being here always. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. All those things. It means the absolute world to me, and the fact that we're getting up to 250 episodes is pretty crazy. Yeah, it's awesome. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Wish you all the best, and we'll see you soon. Go outside. Be a good person. See you in the next one.